Hello, everyone. This hour on Verbling, the next in my Getting Results in Business series, we're going to begin a brand new unit today on business communication. In this unit, you're going to discuss ways of communicating using technology and the implications for business and organizations with communication, particularly through technology. We're going to be doing quite a lot with this, but today we're probably going to start mostly with a kind of brainstorming based on the image that we see in the beginning, which is a bit unusual. And from there, we're going to learn lots of vocabulary through a short text that we're going to read. So that's a bit about the class. Here's a bit about me. I'm John Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. By the way, here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up. That means when you're not speaking, please turn off the microphone so we can keep the classroom quiet. When you are speaking, tune in to the new words and expressions. Use them actively so that I can correct you and give you feedback. And finally, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. And now, I'm going to give you a copy of the presentation for today, which you'll see on the screen. And if you don't have it, there is the link in the chat window. And if you still don't have it, there is the link in the group chat. But you should be able to see it on screen right now. Can everyone see that okay? Can everyone see that okay? Can anybody hear me?
Okay.
Okay, good, good. I get worried because no one says anything and I think maybe no one can hear me.
I always forgot my mic is.
Oh, right. Well, I do that more for new students who don't really understand how the Hangouts work, because new students they don't understand that everyone can hear everyone else. So that's usually why I say it. Although, Daniel, sometimes you've got your mobile phone near the computer.
It's far away from
Oh,
me.
okay. Today is far away. All right. Well, to start off, we're going to do a little brainstorming. I'm going to ask you a question that will help you connect the image to the theme of the unit. The theme is communications. Daniel, tell me something you see in the picture.
A tent
A tent?
in the middle of nothing.
In the middle of nowhere?
Nowhere.
Yeah, not nothing, but
Okay.
nowhere.
Nowhere.
I see a tent in the middle of nowhere.
With a big ant. I don't know in English.
A big satellite.
Satellite. Okay.
Ish. Satellite
Could you
ish.
could you repeat satellite?
Satellite
Dish.
dish.
Okay. Okay.
It's not an antenna, because an antenna would be like a rod sticking up.
Mm-hmm.
This is a dish. Okay, very good. And let's see, so that's what do you see? And Cornell, why do you think you're seeing this image if the theme is communication? What's the connection?
I haven't any guess. I can see two tents in the picture.
No, it's just one. It's one tent, but it's a funny picture. It's divided up, but it's one tent.
There is another behind the first tent.
Is that a tent?
Yeah, in the background.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it is, and there are two people beside the camp, beside the tent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a better word. Maybe there's a better word instead of tent, because tent implies that it's made of cloth.
I think geru.
Say again?
It is called geru in Mongolian.
Oh, I have no idea in Mongolian.
In English, yurt.
Hut.
Part? I think yurt.
Yacht? Yacht is a luxury boat.
Yurt.
Yurt. Yurt.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Official name.
Yuki is right.
Formal name.
Got it. Got it.
In Russian, it's Ger.
But in general, we might call it a hut, because a hut is like a small, sometimes temporary, wooden house. Right? So the English word would probably be hut for that. I don't say tent, because a tent, it looks like it has a wooden structure, and a tent would just be cloth or canvas. That's why I don't know if I like the word tent. Okay, very good.
Special tent.
Special tent, yeah. Well, no, but I have to say hut because it's got wood.
Yeah, for something.
That's good. That's good. And tell me something. So we did what we see, and we didn't say why we see it. So Rebecca, what does this have to do with communications? What's the link, in your opinion?
Excuse me, what? Can you say again, please?
What's the connection to the theme of communications? What do you think the picture is trying to tell us?
Well, it doesn't matter the place where you are, you'll be connected.
No matter where you are, you can be connected, maybe.
You can, yeah.
Okay. And Daniel, what was that about bad communication?
If there's a bad communication, business could find, or to do business, it's a big problem. Not to do good, not
could
to
or
have.
Might. Could or might be a problem. What's the better word here? Could or might?
Might.
Yeah. Might. So if there's communication problems, it might be bad for business. I like that answer because, as you know, these are business classes. So when we talk about the theme, it's telling us some aspect of being a business person. And so communication. So for Rebecca, it's about you can be linked into a communication network no matter where you are. And for Daniel, if there's communication problems, it might be bad for business. Both of those are valid answers, absolutely. Let's say a quick hello to, is it Jacob or Jakob? I can't remember. Is it Jacob or Jakob? How do I say your name? Hello? The map over there? The person with the map, is it Jacob, Fendrick, or Jakob? How do I say your name? Okay. Someone doesn't want to talk to me. I'm so offended. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's Midori. Oh, I didn't know that was you. Okay, you can't talk, right? Because you're
highly appreciate the kitchen.
Oh, I'm so confused. What's going on? Jakob. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So you said you were not able to speak today. Is that right? I don't know what's going on. Okay, maybe we're having a bad connection. So we did what we see. We did what we see. We did why we're seeing it. If you remember earlier, sometimes I gave you some steps to follow to help you think about what to say. It's very useful in a task situation, but it's also good just for description in general. So the third step was to compare and contrast it with something you're familiar with. So we could talk about communication problems, or we could talk about being connected. What do you think, Yuki? Could you compare this situation to a situation you've had to deal with in your life or in your business dealings in your life, your professional or personal life?
You mean the difference between nomad life and contemporary people in big city, people in
If
in
that's
developed
what
countries.
if that's what the picture reminds you of, then sure. As long as you can base it in what you see, sure. Anything is valid. Yeah.
Yes, I see. I think the life there, life of nomad, is completely different from that of ours. Ours.
That of ours is correct. Yeah. That of
That
ours.
was correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
That of ours. I think life, everyday life is quite simple. I suppose that life is quite simple there. Uh, mm, but it's quite difficult to survive every day. Uh, Only there are they only I suppose that they live with great nature, so their life depend on the environment and weather. And I heard there are big storms often comes there. So I heard that yacht is designed to endure the strong storm. So
And
so
what
it
about communication?
communication.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's the thing.
Yeah. I'm not on the track, right track. Okay. Communication is yes. They I suppose that the family there live far from neighbors. Yeah. So communication is quite limited. The way of communication way is quite limited. So that's why I see the antenna,
The
parabola,
satellite dish.
satellite antenna.
Dish.
Satellite dish.
Yeah.
There, I see satellite.
You can also say parabolic. You can say it,
Parabolic.
but most people will just say dish.
I see a dish, big dish. It's placed next to York. So so they think communication is very important.
Okay, that's fine. So they think it's important, and if we're going to compare and contrast that to something we know, well, maybe there was a time when living out there in the fields or the prairies or the tundra, I guess if this is Mongolian area or Siberia or something, there was a time when you'd be totally cut off. But now maybe we're able to stay connected to the rest of the world. And that's maybe a difference that technology has brought. I mean, that's what I would say. Maybe this shows that technology has allowed people, no matter where they are, to stay connected. I mean, I don't know. Just an idea, more of a thematic one. And Jakob, are you there?
Yes. You hear me?
Yes. So, where, if you had to choose between living in a city and living in this environment, what would you choose?
Living in city and living in
This environment, like you see in the picture.
this environment. I'd like to be such eager person who would answer. I'd like to stay in the city sometimes, and I'd like this quiet environment another times for contemplation.
Ah, so do you think having a satellite dish would interrupt your contemplation, or do you think it's necessary?
Um, Give me water, give me television, and give me telephone, and I would live in the desert.
So I don't. Wait a second. You want to be out in the middle of nowhere, but you still want television, telephone, and water,
Telephone, water, and internet,
and internet. You want everything.
yeah, and internet, and I would live in the desert. No
Oh,
problem.
okay. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think that literally all I need is a computer because
Yes.
I mean, literally, that's how I earn a living. If I have a laptop, I can live pretty much anywhere. I don't know how good the internet connections are out there in the steppes of Mongolia, but anyway. So, and let's see, we still got two more people here. So we got Adi and Shadow. I want to include you in the discussion. So, Shadow, can you relate to this situation in the picture in any way? Is this something like I'm sure you have to deal with the desert every day out there in Saudi Arabia.
Mhm.
Is it like this? Is it sort of cut off and removed? No.
No, it's not like this.
What is it like?
This is like this picture. It's an old days. I mean, people used to live in tents, and having camels to drive them. I mean, to use it for drive. I don't know how to say it.
That sounds okay to me.
Okay. So this, but now, no, it's not like that.
And what would you prefer? To live like that?
No. Of course not. I prefer to live in a city.
Because?
Because it's more comfortable.
More comfortable.
Comfortable.
Comfortable, right. Comfortable.
Comfortable.
That's right, that's right. And one last question. This one goes out to Adi. Adi, do you think that technology, like you see in the picture, do you think that technology has really helped us to communicate better? I know we can communicate more, but do you think it's helped us communicate better, or do you think it's just helped us communicate, faster?
I think it makes us to communicate because everywhere, I mean, we can communicate, we can make a communication with people around the world with internet. I mean, if this is for internet connection, we can we can we can communicate with people around the world, and we can get information like news or many things that we can get from uh, this internet for internet connection. So we are living in nowhere.
Right, right. And we also, people in the cities, become more aware of people out there, wherever this is. And that's another thing. It's maybe that it goes both ways. At least I hope it does. All right. Well, I wanted you to take a look at that just to get an idea of, what they're looking for if you ever take a test, like an oral exam when they give you picture prompts, but also just for your ability to use English thinking on your feet. All I did was ask you some open questions. You could do the same for yourself, actually. I just thought of who, what, when, where, how, and why, but I also stuck to our original plan of focusing on describing first, then connecting it to a theme, and then personalizing. That's basically a good three-part structure when you're in an exam, but it also is just good for your practice in general. Give me just a second. I have to open some material on my computer, and then I'm going to change the page. Give me just a second here. All right. So, of course, we're talking about communication. And in the working with words section that we're going to start now, we're going to be talking about communication, particularly with technology. This unit is a little bit old, so we're probably going to add some things to the unit that aren't there, because at the time the internet was still a little bit slow, so it's a bit out of date. But I think it's still relevant. So, two questions to begin with. Is the world a better place? So, Adi, it seems like you think it is. Am I right?
Yes, teacher. Yes, John.
Yes, student. Sorry, Jacob, did you want to say something? You can just speak.
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I'd like to say technology of communication has increased, has been developed to an astonishing point, but our world is not better through that because this major of increasing of communication technologies has also unmasked the people.
Huh.
It has
What do you mean?
unmasked the
What do you
people
mean?
who are unmasked the people, has exposed the people, the reality of the people. Are they ready to communicate with you? Are your neighbors, your relatives, your friends ready to communicate with you? We have now communication for free of charge. But
So, when you say unmasked,
yes,
so can you give an example of what you mean by unmasked? Because that could mean many things.
yes, the mask is away.
Well,
The
give an
mask,
give an
is
example.
away. You,
Give an example.
yes, you think the people are close to you, are beside you,
Right.
and they may only prevented because of the lack of communication technology, or they may prevented to communicate with you because of the costs or the fees of the communication. Nowadays,
Right.
we have communication for free from
Well,
every
more or less free.
yes, from every point of the world to every other point of the world. But the people don't communicate.
Okay.
And that's
That's a valid point.
yes, that's what I mean with unmasking.
What do we think about Jacob's point? Do we agree, class? Do we all agree? Disagree? I think it's a good point that so when you say unmasked, you mean that we get to see maybe in a more direct way what people's intentions are. Everyone can friend you on Facebook, but they're not really your friends, right? It's just a funny term, a new way to think about friendship. So in a way, you can have lots of friends, but you don't really have friends that you communicate with, right? So maybe it is that a good thing, Jakob? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it is not. It is an advantage
Yeah.
from the technology of
Mhm.
communication to learn the people more and deeply. How ready they are, how close are they to you.
Hmm.
If somebody is close to you, he communicates with you.
Hmm.
He asks about your health and your situation and so on. Now the people have that chance to communicate free of charge and have time, but don't communicate because the motivation, the interior motivation, isn't there.
So it's kind of philosophical what you're saying, in a way. We get to see who people really are.
Yeah.
What do the rest of you think about his idea?
I think too much communication and the bad way is the governments watch us too much.
So this is another aspect of the
Yes.
communication issue.
Yes.
So on one hand, and what do you think about what do you think about his point, though? That it unmasks people. Besides the surveillance issue, which is another thing. Do you agree with him?
Mask or unmask?
He said it unmasks people because we've got virtually free communication all over the world, right? But people don't necessarily communicate with each other. It's not any better than before in a way. So we get to see that they don't really want to communicate or they're not able to. I think that's what Jakob is trying to say. There's more means of communication, but human communication has not necessarily improved as a result, or business communication hasn't improved. We get to see the people's intentions. Because my example is with Facebook. You can have 1 million Facebook friends, but that doesn't mean you really have 1 million friends.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's what I was asking, if the rest of you agree with that.
I heard that there is a limit for every people to communicate. The limit of number of people, every person can communicate. So you can communicate using Facebook. Maybe you can communicate with many people. Yeah, but you can communicate with 10 friends. Yeah, maybe 20 friends, 30 friends. But maybe you feel maybe stressed when you communicate with 100 friends. So it is in now in the time of social network. You can make a friend, many friends using internet via internet, but you can find a golden means to communicate with the good way, the better way to communicate with people. Just only when just if you try your best to make more friends, it would be very stressful to you, and your effectiveness of your job and daily life would be very worsen. So
would be worse than before.
Would be worse. So I understand what.
So when you say golden mean,
yes,
right? That's like finding the right balance.
Yes, I know the teacher. He teacher of junior high school. He's an elder man. His hobby is reading books. Yeah. Before he have enough time after coming home, he had enough time to spend for reading his favorite book. But now, after he was recommended to register to LINE or Facebook, he have to write a reply to many students. So so he lost his free time now. He feel very stressful every day. So that's a problem. Yeah, you know, like you, John Eric, you are very famous person. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a teacher. Yeah. So maybe you have to write many.
Bill Gates just sent me an email the other day. He said, you know, John Eric, because you're so famous as a teacher, you know, Bill Gates likes to pick teachers, and he likes to promote teachers. That's one of his hobbies now. So
I see.
I guess I'm not that famous because he didn't pick me.
Bill Gates is better because he's too famous. So everyone know. Everyone don't expect from Bill Gates answer, but everyone maybe you, John Eric, you are pretty famous, yeah.
Pretty famous.
Yeah, such a person have a difficulties. Yeah, everyone expect from your answer, yeah, and reaction. I suppose you.
But I don't blame. I don't blame
student here.
But I don't blame technology in my case. I think that
I suppose it's difficult to be a teacher in online.
No, I disagree. I think it's exactly the opposite, in my personal opinion, because I think it's just adapting. And the problem is that we have to learn to adapt faster. So in the very beginning, the junior high school teacher probably has a harder time adapting to new technology. Probably, I don't know, but I'm saying probably. And then maybe in my case, I had to learn how to read productivity, writing. I had to learn it because I used to think it was all nonsense, but I realized it isn't, because I had to learn how to adapt. So I had to learn what kind of techniques you need to practically put into place. And that helped a bit. So, for example, learning to ignore social media was a really good thing to learn, because it can really overwhelm you. But you have to learn how to create habits, and it's a very deliberate thing. So I think it's a good point. But on the other hand, if I didn't have access to technology, I might not have known about half of the books that I have read, because I found them through Facebook groups or through online searches. So it's a double-edged sword. Do you know that expression? Double-edged sword. Good expression for you. Sword like this.
Dangerous, danger and safe together. Yeah.
Yeah, it can protect and it can hurt.
Advantage and disadvantage.
Exactly.
Together.
That's my opinion, at least.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Well, we've got one more brainstorming question, and what we're really doing here is trying to elicit some vocabulary for communications. So I'll try to summarize that in the end. Let me see. Cornell, what do you think about the second one? What communication technologies could you personally live without? I talked about learning to ignore social media. Is there something that you think you could live without, kind of like the people in the huts out there on the steppes of Mongolia? What could you live without?
Yeah, it is a good question, because I have a determined opinion about social media like Facebook, because I hate it, and I absolutely hate it, and I don't use similar social media like Twitter and social media, but it is impossible to live without it concerning and focusing on young people, because it's a normal way to communicate each other.
To communicate with each other.
Yeah, and when I was younger than now, we were not able to use Facebook and something like that. So
you were not allowed, or it didn't exist? What do you mean? It was not permitted, or it didn't exist yet?
Yeah, the second one. The second one
didn't exist. Okay.
Yeah, and I can live without these communications, and I think it is also right regarding in Mongolia, for example, or in other similar countries. So it is not needed to communicate. I think it is a bad behavior.
Wow.
For example, when I was in a restaurant, and a member of a family were using their cell phone and something like that. So it is not a good behavior.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I certainly agree with you that there's an etiquette. There's an etiquette you have to learn. Etiquette like this in the chat window. 1 second. Which we talked about in the speaking skills class.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to hear from the rest of you too. Rebecca, could you live without the internet these days? You think it's possible? So Cornell is saying that he hates Facebook and Twitter. I kind of understand. I feel similar, but I still think it's necessary. What do you think, Rebecca?
Okay, in my opinion, I totally agree with social media. For me, it's the only way I can keep in touch with friends and family, even family, you know, and have fun. Even I am not with them, so I like it, and just not for personal life, as well for job. For me,
So
is really really necessary.
not only for my personal life, but also not only but also.
Not only for my personal life, but also for job, you know, for my professional life. For example, the connection around the world nowadays is for in my opinion is amazing. The opportunity we have to be to keep in touch with everyone.
What about as an architect? Do you think it's necessary to have internet and communication, Adi? Could you do your job without it?
No, I cannot do my job without it because um, internet com internet giving me a lot of information about the new trends, about the upcoming trends, and about all the information that I can learn or I can share with my client or many things from the internet. So I cannot live without internet. That's the one thing that I have to have in my life. I mean, because I earn the money from the internet too.
Hmm. You earn the money through the internet as an architect? You mean getting
As an
clients
architect,
or getting ideas?
getting ideas and also getting to make my job easier by the internet.
Easy in what way?
Easy in for communication, of course, for
Okay.
transfer, for sending the files because I have a lot of files that I have to send to all of my teams, and it is very very saving my time for so I don't need to go to their home even though we are in the same city. We just by using the internet we can share the design, and by using the internet I can see his or her computer. We can work together as a
Ah,
team at
collaboration.
the same time. Yes, we can collaborate by the internet.
Okay. All right, very good, very good. Well, these are all very good ideas. So I think we've seen that there is good, there is bad, there is a learning curve. That's an expression in English. There's a learning curve, meaning that there's a period of time where you've got to learn how to use the technology to your advantage. So when you're able to make it through that learning curve, some of the negatives can be counteracted, I think. Um, what about that curve upwards?
Is that curve in in the meaning of increase learning curve, more learning, or
No, decrease.
okay, okay, different.
Because the learning curve is that it increases rapidly in the beginning, meaning that you have to spend time learning, but then it decreases very, very abruptly, because once you get the trick, you can use the technology, whatever it is, you can use it, as if you've always used it. So what I mean is, like one learning curve for me was to learn how to ignore social media, use it when I needed it, and I had to learn how to create a habit. It seemed very obvious, but I found that you really had to have a technique. You had to learn how to schedule your time to deliberately, look at email and not look at it, because otherwise it'll just take over. And it wouldn't be something that you did consciously. It would just kind of happen. So that's what I mean by learning curve. Anyway, it's a good expression too, learning curve. The period of time where you get adjusted to something new is the learning curve. So these are all good ideas. I'm going to try to summarize the vocabulary for you in the notes a little bit later. But why don't we move on to get some vocabulary through a little listening. Hang on just a second here. Okay, so we got an extract from a discussion program looking at developments in the world of communication. I apologize because this is probably a little bit dated, but we're doing it to get some exposure to vocabulary. So that's the main thing. Let's see what we've got to listen for. Everyone take a question. Let's read it, make sure it's clear. So, Yuki, can you just read question 1 for me?
Okay. How does speaker one machine communication system developing?
Okay, remember this is a little bit outdated, so don't laugh when you hear it. Daniel, can you read number 2 for us?
What 3 stages in communication development does speaker 2 mention?
Stage or stages?
Stages.
Stages. Okay,
Stages.
very good. And let's see, and Cornell, could you read question 3 for us?
What is speaker 3's main point about communication systems?
Okay. So, any questions about the questions? No? We're cool? I'll take that as a yes. Here we go. Speaker number 1. By the way, as you know, you can always cheat and go forward to see the transcripts, okay? If you really want to. But I suggest you just use your ears the first time. Okay, speaker 1 says, let me see, this is text 43. 1 second, wrong place. 43. There we go. I think what we'll see is that communication systems will become more integrated. For example, I was involved in the development of a software for Operation Lazarus, the first telesurgery back in 2005. An American doctor in New York actually carried out an operation on a patient in France using remote cameras and a robot surgeon. Well, that shows what can be done when communication is integrated with other systems. Now, as long as you can connect to the internet, the potential of these integrated systems is almost limitless. Whatever you do and wherever you are, you'll be able to collaborate with colleagues anywhere in the world. I mean, the implications for health, education, training, business, manufacturing are enormous. Speaker number 2. What you're saying is very interesting, and to some extent I agree, but the way I see it, there are 3 stages to the development of communication. First is when people use machines to communicate with people. Okay, so we're talking about telephone, email, chat rooms, and we've reached that stage now. The second is when people interact with machines, digital TV, using the internet as an information resource, playing games, voice recognition, where the machine responds directly to the person. We're just in the early stages of that. There's a long way to go. Okay, but the last stage is when machines start talking to machines. We saw it first a long time ago in the Wall Street crash of '87, when the program trading caused a complete chaos in the system. Computers were cutting prices, selling stock to other computers, and people didn't know how to stop it. It's a scary scenario because it takes us into a whole new area of experience. And when that comes, it's going to have a big impact on all of us. Speaker number 3. Yeah, well, I think maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves here. In this kind of speculation's all very interesting, but communication systems are no good if people can't use them. Now, at the moment, everyone you know may well have access to the internet, subscribe to satellite TV, or use a mobile phone or whatever, but that's just not the case for most people in the world. We need to focus on spreading around the basic technology we have, and we need to do it more fairly. As it is, more than half of the population in the world has never even made a phone call. Think about that. How good is communication, or how good is a communication system if half the world is excluded from it? question number 1. Who wants it?
Okay.
Go for it.
How does the speaker one see communication system developing? The speaker one see the communication system developing at the remote operation, at the development of remote operation system, like using remote cameras and robots. You can have a robot. You can have a doctor can make a surgeon,
Can do surgery.
Can do surgery for the patient, which is in reality which is far from him, and it remote operation system enable to collaborate with colleague who lives far from you, who lives in another countries far from you. So such a remote system can be applied in many fields, on many fields like education, training, business, manufacturing.
So in a nutshell, Yuki, what's the main point though? The main point is, how does Speaker One see it developing? He sees it developing in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, he sees very positive about the development of communication system, and it is applied on many fields.
Okay, so in a positive way, and specifically, we might add, as you said, but let me just summarize what you said, as overcoming the distance barrier to work, overcoming the distance barrier. I think that's one point. That's one point that you were making. Okay.
Yes.
Would anyone add to that? Would anyone add to that for Speaker One?
Yes, I
Go
think
for it.
the speaker one says that how the communication system develop is more become integrated to many ways.
More integrated, absolutely. That is maybe the more important point, because he was talking about remoteness, but in the context of how robots, people, and cameras can work together. So yeah, I agree. More integrated. So technology, or integrated technology. Integrated technology. Okay? Okay, but let's go on to the second one then. Tell me about the 3 stages in communication from Speaker 2.
Okay. There's 3 stages. The first is when people use machines to communicate
With each other.
With each other, telephone, email. The second is when we interacted with machines. It's the current.
Sorry to interrupt, but just machines.
Machines.
Yeah, there you go.
Is the current state. We are in this state. And the third stage, and the more scary scenario, is when machines can't start talking to machines. We can see this in a famous film, Terminator, I think.
Terminator? Oh yeah, okay. They're fighting with each other.
Yes, when machines thinks from itself, no? Thinks itself. I don't know what to say.
Skynet decided to all the computers started getting,
Terminator.
Yes.
yeah, Skynet started talking with all the computers in the world,
Mhm.
and then it became conscious somehow. Um,
And John Connor saved the world.
Never really explain how the machines became conscious, but anyway, you're right. They all started talking with each other and they took over. Stephen Hawking just came out with a big news item yesterday, scaring us about how artificial intelligence will end humanity. I don't know if any of you read that.
I watched the news. Yeah.
I read the headline,
Yeah,
not the entire.
He made a very awful progress. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because there's a guy who is completely dependent on technology to do anything, and yet he's scaring us with it. I don't know what I didn't read it.
I
But
I found very interesting what he said now is very resembled to what he is saying Alan Kay, computer scientist. he maybe 10 or 20 years ago he gave a prognosis that computer all our intelligence is fusion, it's combined with virtual reality world, and there would be there appears another intelligence system, or in which all of us, all people are connected. So
and we call that the internet.
yeah. Internet. Yeah, yes, it is. It's advanced figure of internet, future internet. Yeah.
Incidentally, they tried to put a kind of electrode cap on Stephen Hawking so that he could just think. They tried this for years. He could just think, and that would allow him to type or to control his computer, and it didn't work. They couldn't get enough of a signal for it to work. So the experimenters were able to use a thinking cap, and not perfectly, but they're able to think what they wanted to say and think to control the mouse. By the way, Stephen Hawking uses Windows. If you look at his wheelchair, he's got a Windows system, which is maybe the problem. He should switch to Apple.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. So they tried it.
Sometimes he have to start up, restart the system.
Exactly. So it's interesting. Well, let's look at the last point.
Moreover, after we die, after we will die, we have to we can work.
After we die, not after we will.
After we die. After we die, we can work connected in internet. So our brain would be reserved connecting with the internet system. So after we die, we have to work.
I hear German. I'm sorry, I've got to turn off the German. Because I don't understand it, so it makes me nervous.
So I think it's kind of awful word.
Well,
awful. I don't know.
Let's see what happens. Let's see if it comes to pass. So, Rebecca, what about the third point? What is the speaker's three main point about communication systems? Did you catch that?
Okay, I think he's questioning about how good is these days, nowadays, the internet or the connection around the world. If, for example, just they have population around the world can be connected, and the rest can't.
By the way, we don't question about; we just question. So he's questioning. Okay. He's questioning how fair.
How fair? Okay. He's questioning how fair. Okay.
How fair the communication systems are. How how available they are. You're right. What do you remember? What the example that he gives, Rebecca? You're right. Do you remember what he was talking about specifically? Half of the population has never done what?
Has never used a telephone.
Exactly. We're talking about
No, a telephone, a telephone call.
exactly. So he's saying that let's see, like 3 billion people on the planet have never made or received a telephone call. So I don't know if that's still true today, but 5 years ago, apparently it was true. Well, let me see. To wrap things up, to wrap our discussion up, before I summarize some of the key words here. So we've got those stages of development with technology and communication, and we've got this point about fairness. Do you think that he's right, speaker number 3? I mean, maybe it's not half of the world anymore that has no access like it was. I don't know. Maybe it hasn't changed. I'm not sure. But do you think that that's a fair warning? That communication, it's not an issue of that it makes communication worse, per se, but that not enough people have access to it, so it's still an issue of only elite people in elite economies can really participate. I think that's what he's trying to get at.
I think he's talking about digital divide.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he talked about phones.
People living in poor countries, developing countries, maybe in Africa, have a very limited opportunity to access to internet, but everyone in America maybe can access to internet. So there would be a big gap, big gap of intelligence, a big gap of education skill between among people between poor country, between among people in the world. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you here in Portugal, if you leave the cities, it's pretty hard to get a good internet connection.
Really?
Pretty hard. Outside of the major cities.
Developed countries, Europe, a dream of all over the people.
But for example, when I tried to send for the degree that I was doing here, I tried to send work, tried to email it to one of my professors. It's like a PDF document, and she says, "Don't ever send me anything don't ever send me attachments." I was like, "Why?" She said, "Because I can only get internet through a satellite connection, and it'll cost me so much money to download your PDF that it'll raise my rate." And I was like, "Really? But where do you live?" "Oh, I live, an hour outside of the city." I say, "Okay."
It sounds like communication before, generation.
Yeah, it was hard for me to believe, actually, because the connections are pretty good inside the city, and now I'm in the suburbs.
That's
so pretty
why
good.
your connection is off. Sometimes you are disconnected in the time of class. Yeah.
No.
No?
The connection's very good.
Yeah.
The connection's great. When they keep doing updates, the computer doesn't have time to download the updates, and the Hangouts get very glitchy.
Your voice is sometimes, only sometimes, broke up, and you have to restart your computer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I blame that on Google.
It owns to Google, yeah?
Everything is Google's fault. I blame it all on Google, whether it's true or not. And what about the rest of you? What do you think? Do you think it was a fair point? Do you think that we're talking about elite people, that maybe it should be more democratic? Or do you think that the situation has totally changed? Because with all of those, for example, with all of the what's the word I'm looking for? With everything that happened in, I just forgot the word, in Tahrir Square in Tunisia and all of those Occupy movements in the United States, technology was used in all of those, and it might not have been possible, like organizing things outside of the reach of law enforcement, for example. So, do you think the situation has changed and it's now democratic enough? Just curious what the rest of you think. Or do you think it's still a digital divide, as Yuki was mentioning?
I don't know what to say in English. The phrase maybe in a short time everybody will have access on internet, I think, but it's most important in some countries to achieve to have water and electricity and sanitary before to have better communication, I think.
So you're saying that we should cure malaria before we give everyone internet access?
Yes.
What a crazy idea, Daniel. So access to drinking water kind of puts things in perspective. Not everyone has access to potable water, let alone internet connections. Touché, Daniel. Well, here's what I'd like to do. We're going to end the class because we're at the end of the hour. I'm going to take some of our key vocabulary, put in the notes for you so you can think about it. What I'd like to do then is in the next class, which won't be until Monday, we're going to go back to some of the key phrases we've learned. We're going to do a little work to get it into your memory, as you can see here, and we're going to end up class. We've got a reading, and we're going to end up at the very end, quick preview. Here we go. Describing technology changes in a particular field, company, or industry, and making a short presentation. So we're going to get a bit of background before we do that, so you'll be able to use new keywords. Okay, so that's it for now. I'll be back tomorrow for Hot Topics, and on Monday at 10 GMT for the next in the Getting Results in Business Communications. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you for the class.
Bye, take care.
Thank you for the interesting discussion.
Thank
Bye
you
for
for
now.
the interesting discussion
Bye-bye.
too.
See you.
Hope to see you soon.